Guys, we found it. What Siri 4.0 should be.
Welcome to the All Future podcast, where we talk all things tech throughout the week. Today we're joined by Andrew once again.
Hey.
So there's three of us today, and we're talking about Apple's AI Endgame.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of large action devices, and if you haven't, these are lambs like the Rabbit R1 and the Humane AI Pin. We're seeing a new one come up now. It's the Open Interpreter's O1 Lite. This is really cool stuff. Have you guys seen this yet?
I've only seen a little bit.
I have seen the demo video, so I'm excited to get your read on this thing.
Is this a device?
Yeah, it's a little device that almost looks like a ping pong ball. And you can almost just think about it like a smart speaker, which we'll get into for a second. None of these devices are really needed. But anyways, they're all things your phone do. So it looks like a little ping pong ball. It sits on your table, and it could do all the basic things that we've seen with these things do before. You could talk to it. It can translate for you. It could do research for you like an LLM would. Like you're talking to... Have you guys used ChatGPT's voice feature yet?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so that's super cool. You can have a conversation with it. It's using the LLM technology. But what's very new, and what a lot of these things are trying to do these days, is the large action model. Not just being able to talk to it, but using all of its functionality to be able to actually get it to do something. Now we see a demo of the O1 Lite controlling your computer and being able to, without knowing anything about this program or any APIs, send a Slack message or a PDF from your computer to someone else. It actually runs your computer for you like a remote desktop via your voice. There's a couple problems here. The first one...
Only a couple.
The first big problem that I see here, and we've talked about this with all of these other interfaces, is that all of these programs that you're like teaching how to do things constantly have updates where they change their UI. The first deal breaker here is that you constantly have to be training them. So in this first video that you guys watched, you have to actually tell it, open up Slack. Did I do it right? Yes. Okay, now click on this guy's name. Did I do it right? Yes. Now click on the text box. Did I do it right? Yes. Now write this message. And you literally have to write its own code for you to be able to do this thing. And it sort of devalues this. As cool as something like that is to build your own macros, if you can imagine doing that for every single thing in your workflow, you might as well be just coding by your voice. Like, does that sound more convenient or not?
I think it does.
Yeah, I'm taking the exact opposite.
It sounds like an employee. Like, there's a process where it takes more of your time, and then
Here's what I like about it, right? I mean, we use the example of Slack. That obviously should just be an AI thing, or API thing. Like, that's easy to do. But what about hyper-specific stuff that I think everyone has, right? Like, everyone has some app on their phone or their computer or whatever that is like so unique to their world, whatever that is, right? You guys, both musicians, both drummers, right? No one's going to make an API for something to think of something in the drum world. I'm not a drummer guy, right? But you can, this AI, you can train it. Hey, let me show you how to use this very specific software that I do and these few tasks that I need to do a lot. And I agree, you are essentially programming it, right? You're programming. I mean, Apple already does this on iPhone with shortcuts, essentially, right? You could build this already. The difference is there's a lot of, not necessarily barrier to entry, but it's intimidating to do that stuff for most people.
Yeah.
When you make it just a voice thing that talks to you naturally and goes, hey, did I do that right? And you go, no, actually click on this instead. And it goes, oh, okay, thanks. Like, like it's talking to you like it's a weird person. That it seems like it's going to be pretty effective. So I like this as a device category, not necessarily this device.
Yeah, the one use case I thought of is that you watch The Office.
Yeah, I'm a human in America. Yes, I've seen The Office. Yes.
the episode where he accidentally sends the photo to packaging instead of Packer.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that could happen is my initial fear.
Or it would catch stuff like that, right? Like that's the other thing. It goes, well, and this kind of goes back, this is a bigger conversation. We've been talking about AI understanding context a lot. Like it would go, this is an intimate picture of Jan. Are you sure you want it to go to 10,000 people, right? Like
that's true.
And that's the difference between an AI and just a voice command system, right? And I think that's what a lot of people don't get right now is that if you're used to Siri, if you're used to Google Home in their current iterations, they're very much a voice command system, right? This is, it can look at a bigger world, figure out what's going on, know your world specifically, and help you out with stuff.
Here's my complaint here, though.
Okay.
It's not that it does this thing. The thing is really cool. You guys are getting me all wrong.
I'm sorry.
Okay?
You misunderstood.
Apple has the opportunity here to just natively build this in because none of these devices need to exist. Everyone knows that everything's in LAM and large action model right now can be just developed as an app. We already have a microphone on our phone. Our phone's already connected to the internet.
Great cameras.
But what Apple can do differently is plug all these things directly into their Apple ecosystem with Siri Pro.
100% agree with all this. And we've talked about this before. What is the post-smartphone world? Ryan, you got the Tesla channel. You talk about Elon Musk kind of theory on it is always like, Neuralink or something like that. But the reason Tesla doesn't make a phone is because phones are dying. Apple knows this too. This is going to be the first time ever, or not first time ever, the first time in like 10, 15 years or something like that, where Apple's stock has not increased dramatically year over year. And that is, I think, very much tied to people being over phones, right? None of us at this table, even though we're super into tech, we have a tech podcast here, upgraded our iPhones last year, right? So you've got to look at a post-phone world. This thing could be it. I agree 100% with what you're saying, Andrew. And we talk about this with the Rabbit and stuff like that too. It's like, oh, well, your phone already does all this stuff. Why do I need to pull out a thing? But what's a world where we don't have a phone or even need a phone anymore? And maybe it's something like this, a little magic ball you carry around. It kind of does everything for you.
It's interesting because this might be one of the first WWDCs where it's much less device specific what is being presented and what is being given out to developers to work on. Usually it's like, here's the new iOS, here's the new iPad OS, and those are specific to those devices you buy. I guess the last one was probably Vision. And so this next one is going to be AI, which is like all devices, and any future device doesn't have to be an iPhone.
Here's our AI toolkit. You guys go wild with it.
Yeah.
This will be pitched too with the Apple Watch Ultra AI, meaning like you have a camera now on your watch that acts exactly like this thing. It has a microphone, it has a camera, it could do all the things that this can do if the software was in there.
Yeah, and I do like that form factor as the future of computing wearables, whatever you want to call it. Everyone has a watch on, and that's your AI kind of interface with the world. And you don't need a phone or anything else with you.
Another big thing that Apple can bring to LAM that everyone has been complaining about is security. So imagine that anyone can just get a hold of this device, and if it can't recognize your voice correctly, it could just send something to anyone or has access to all your passwords. Rabbit, you need to literally like insert all of your information into their software for it to be able to use your Uber, to use your thing. Now, Apple already has the best security and has access to all your passwords. Now you don't have to put any of that information into anything, and you need your extra layer of security for something to happen. So what happens if I want to make a bank transfer, like something very secure? I want to send someone money through Venmo. It would have to scan my face like I have to do to get in my phone. Like, wouldn't that be a much more secure world than having these other devices with untested security? We don't know where they're hosting anything. We don't trust these companies yet with our data. We don't trust any companies with our data after this AT&T data leak, but that's getting off topic. So do you think Apple can bring a level of security to these devices and make them trust a large action model in a way that they wouldn't with these brand new devices?
Definitely. They just have this ability. One, I think their devices are very secure and everything. And then they also just have the perception of that. They've done an incredible job at the marketing of that to where it's like, oh, well, ours is this closed thing because it's secure and we're not selling your data and your passwords are secure and we use Face ID and now we use an actual eyesight thing or whatever it's called on the Vision. It's always super secure, and that versus entering it in all of your info into this Rabbit device or whatever this open interpreter device is. Yeah, it's a company you haven't heard of. It's all this stuff versus it's an app that it's an extension of iOS would be great.
Right. I think that I got a couple thoughts on this. One, I think to be fair to this thing, right, it also can run the LLM locally on a machine and not go up from the cloud, which I think is going to be a big part of privacy with AI. It's like, how much can we run local? How much we have to off board? We talked about a lot of what Apple is going to do. It seems like splitting the difference a little, like they're going to partner with Gemini for some cloud stuff, do some onboard device stuff. We're talking about what NVIDIA is doing with Chat RTX, which can be run completely locally on a machine. That kind of stuff, I think, is going to be a real thing people are going to have to face, right? Is how much of my privacy do I want to give to the AI machine? On the flip side of that, a really good AI has the ability to be more secure than anything else because it can really understand context of what's happening. As good as passwords and biometrics are, that's still ones and zeros being fed into a machine that can be tricked, right?
Mm-hmm.
A good AI goes, wait a second, I'm not at my owner's house. Where the heck am I? I shouldn't give any passwords, right? Like, and I can understand my environment and understand what's going on. Obviously, there's going to be ways that people are going to use to trick all that stuff, right? It's constantly an arms race. But if we have an always on AI that's always with us, it's going to need that kind of security where it understands when it's in a dangerous situation and locks itself down.
Yeah, I think you're talking about basically how credit cards have fraud alerts right now.
Yeah.
I travel a lot, and so every time I might end up in a new city, 50-50 shot my credit card's not going to work, or I have to let them know I'm traveling. That would be an excellent feature to use with these things, especially as like a lot of the people who would be using them are people who are traveling a lot. So, you need that extra layer of fraud security for these LAMs. And everything that we're talking about, so you don't get a fraud AI call and transfer whatever it was, like $20 million from your CFO because they told you to. It's getting pretty easy to trick people out there.
Yeah.
And getting easier, right? We're going to need AI to fight AIs, right? Like, we're going to need that kind of security, like contextual security in these devices so that AI doesn't circumvent them for nefarious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the things it can accomplish seem amazing. Like, I have to do so much file organization for what I do. I have to do so much sending large amounts of files that are really specific. If I can like teach it to do it once and then have it go, that would be incredible. Or like building spreadsheets or all the stuff that Microsoft Copilot is doing right now, but really like compiling like lists of files and being able to transfer those as people ask for them is huge, for like tax implications, for, a lot of stuff that people just have to do in their everyday lives that you might be using an assistant for, an accountant for, or something like that. This can really replace those things, or just give like a small business a chance to do this in a way that's, at the level of someone else, or just not have to deal with it and deal with the thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of examples too that kind of illustrate what this could be, which is just like, think of whatever thing you're snobby about. I'm very maybe snobby about music or the type of movies I like.
I don't
or
think
whatever.
you hit the maybe there.
And but I have a very specific criteria for, it's like, oh, it's playing the radio on Apple Music and it plays another song after the song I said to play, and then it's not what I wanted. It's not the right vibe. And then I can actually tell it why. Oh, I don't actually like this artist for whatever reason.
Right, yeah.
Or I don't actually like music from this era, or when it sounds like this, and then you can teach it. And that's just an example of like, you're doing that same level of teaching in a thing that matters to most people.
That's really interesting. In my mind, I'm like, because we're musicians, I'm like, oh, I don't like that song. I got kicked out of that band like 10 years ago. Can you just not play it?
Never play a band I was kicked out of.
And there's no way it could figure that out.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You have to train that.
I could tell to play your guys' songs, except just mute it every time so it looks like I'm listening, and give you guys the money from Spotify. And
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I love you guys' songs.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you. I needed that.
The other thing I think, when we were talking about like training AIs and stuff, this kind of tech is going to become more and more consumer. This thing is already shipping to developers, so you can buy this thing. We could get it right now if we want it and mess around with it. As this becomes more and more a product, what we're going to need is more what's called AI agents, AIs to teach AIs. And we talk about, we teach it to use Slack or whatever, or even some music software or whatever. You're almost going to need to bundle in your software in the future, and it comes with an AI agent to teach your AI how to use it. Undoubtedly, people are going to charge for that, right? So, pay an extra $3 and we'll include the AI agent so your AI can learn how to use the software you're just downloading.
That would be awesome, though. Like, if Slack provided something like that, that would be worth a fee of buying the product. It's just like buying Photoshop or something. It comes loaded with all these tools. I think it's a great point that an AI agent should be something that comes with that tool, and then it knows how to work with Apple's AI agent, just sort of like an API. Like these APIs aren't free. They have to build them and, do all the cloud service for them. Having that as an option in the future seems amazing. Like you don't have to it's the matrix where you just download the information instead of actually having to learn it, except you can't do that, but your AI can do that. Yeah. So, I don't know why every time we think of this stuff, my head goes like, someone's going to crack that immediately. Like, we're just going to, if it's just a text prompt or something like, that'd be so easy to just copy and paste in your AI or something that. But it's just cool to think of the next layer of software and the next layer of, how we're going to interact with our programs in the future.
And I could see people, like in your guys' world, in the music world, right? Humans getting in on this, where it's like, hey, I'm selling an AI agent that uses my methods for mixing songs. Or something like that, right? It's a way for people that are probably gonna get replaced with AI anyway, to like kind of stay in the game because they're like, oh, my AI agent is better at teaching this because I taught it my personal techniques or whatever it is.
Yeah, the AI agent kind of solves the thing that you're talking about as well with UI changing. So the Slack UI changes, it should be able to adapt. Yeah. Because that's the whole idea, is that they learn how to do one thing and then you can apply it to another thing and it figures out the differences.
Like a human, it can go incremental learning.
Yeah. So that an AI agent paired with this could be exactly what makes that work. So it doesn't have to relearn Slack. Well, I guess it does relearn Slack, but you don't have to reteach it Slack.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And then, going in that same direction is small businesses will now sell their AI agent that does something specifically better than something else. So Apple, and we've heard this in the past too, might open up an AI app store that has all their vetted AI agents in it. And then you can just pick and choose and buy them to create your little workflow that works the best for you for whatever it is that you're doing. I think this opens up tons of great possibilities to people who are really good at one thing, but then just stuck not being able to do all the other stuff. There's so many great artists out there who can't do business very well. There's so many great, inventors or things like that really can only focus on the thing they do. And their only option in the past was to be a part of a big corporation or maybe at least a small business, but they can't do all that other stuff. And so if you introduce an AI agent to my friend's a glass blower, incredible glass blower, but I don't think he's ever going to figure out business to save his life,
I imagine glass blowers aren't business minded, really.
Yeah, not really.
They got into glass blowing. They're not in it for the money.
Yeah, exactly. So, you get that guy hooked up with an AI agent that does his taxes well, that can do all his bookkeeping, that can do all
his marketing, makes his website, a salesman, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then brings it to a customer that actually values the thing. I feel like human made is going to be huge in the future. It's already huge right now. People hate AI art, even as an Instagram post sometimes. You see this big controversy around, oh, you posted this AI art picture. I can't believe you did that. We're all artists here. You need to support artists. So there's already a huge movement of human made. And so I think human made plus no one cares about AI taking over business and marketing.
Yeah, the things people hate. Yeah.
Yeah. If you get the artist trying to get their product to the person who wants it the most and who can pay for it the most, we're going to really, see artists have a renaissance of the people who couldn't figure out their businesses, and AI agents figure that out for them. And if we could build these things into the computer tools they're already using, why wouldn't they buy an iPhone or why wouldn't they buy a Mac?
Certified human made. That's something I haven't really heard of.
This is a big deal right now. Yeah. That's what you want. So yeah, it's interesting. I like this thing as a product. I think it's crazy for anyone not named Apple or Google to think that they're going to get any kind of market penetration with it, because there's already devices that can replicate it pretty easily. And Apple's and Google are absolutely going to make a thing like this and just bury the competition, right?
Yeah, so these devices are really cool. It's cool to see them come out and prove concept. Full transparency, I ordered a Rabbit R1, so I was just curious to see what it did for $200. And I feel like it's going to have a lot of pre-programming that I need to do before it does anything. The Humane Pin is shipping soon. That also says half of its features are in beta and it doesn't do the things as well as the demo said. A lot of these companies that look like they have their stuff together are right on that line and almost need all their customer data to be programming all their agents for them. And so, that's what we look like right now.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of customers actually willing to do it. like actually willing to pay for something that is in a beta that they're actually training. We see that very much so with Tesla full self-driving. Tons of customers are paying $12,000 to get that package that is still beta and can't drive itself for you in all situations. You still have to be there to take over. But it's really good and it's getting better because millions of people are willing to pay for that and then train it. So yeah, the same thing is going to happen here.
Yeah, these devices are here, but they're not done. So Apple still has its opportunity to dominate in this space. And if you're in the Apple ecosystem, you're begging for this right now.